Hello neighbors, Alicia Dolan here at Crafting in My Corner. I have another Stampin Sunday video to share with you. If you are following on Facebook or on YouTube and you could hit the like button, that would be great. That really helps me out. Especially if you find the video helpful or if you just want to help me out. I have two cards to show you tonight. They're both Christmas cards. I've kind of been in Christmas mode lately and I need to probably get out of that and do some other things, but I think these are really cute and I hope that you do too and you enjoy stamping along with me. I am on a little bit early this afternoon. Usually I'm not here until about 6 o'clock or maybe later, but today I had these cards ready and I'm ready, so I thought I'd just go live a little bit early, and if you're watching later then that's okay too. I'm gonna turn the camera around and go ahead and get started. So I have two Christmas cards to show you tonight, and hopefully next week I'll be in a mode for something other than Christmas, but I can't promise anything. I can't promise anything. There's a lot of really cute Christmas stamp sets out right now, and so I think that's why I've been kind of stuck in Christmas mode. All right, let me get my camera set up here and make sure I'm in the right spot today. Everything looks good. So these are the two cards that we're going to be making. And if you don't know, I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and if you want to order the stamp set or anything to make these cards, you can visit my website here and use the current host code. And if you use this host code and you order $30 before the end of this week, then I will send you the pieces to make these two cards, the paper and embellishments. So that would be rhinestones, linen thread, enough to make these two each of these two cards. And you'd get all the paper. And this is a sample of what the little stack would be for each of the cards. Okay, so we are going to make the green Merry Christmas card first. I'm going to set it off to the side. Let's see if I can put it right up here in the corner. Maybe we can see it the whole time that we're working on it, so we know where we're going with this one. We're going to start with a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock, and that's 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored right here in the center at 4 1/4. So we're going to take our Mossy Meadow and we're going to fold it on the score mark. And let me grab my bone folder. And we're going to just push that crease a little bit to make sure it's nice and folded. Then I wanted to show you real quick too, on the inside of this card, thank you Tina, I put a piece of white cardstock because when a card is a dark color, I like to have a piece of white to write my message on, and I almost always leave the inside blank. Sometimes I'll stamp a little image in the corner, but a lot of the time I like to write my own message on the inside. So you'll find if you buy a card from my website, you can't buy cards that are made by me from Stampin' Up, but you can buy them on my Facebook store. So if you're on Facebook on Crafting in My Corner and you click on the, I think it's a blue shop link. If you click on that shop link, You can purchase cards or card kits that I've made before. All right, so first we're gonna stamp the outside pieces of this card, and I'm gonna use my Stamparatus a lot tonight. The Stamparatus is a really great tool. Oops, made by Stampin Up. Oops, sorry, I scooted everything there when I did that. I've been a little clumsy today, so hopefully that does not carry over. Okay, and the Stamparatus comes with these plates, and that's what helps us do our stamping. So first, we're gonna put our piece of white cardstock here, and this is the part that's we're gonna stamp our tree on. So I'm just gonna place it where I want it to be, and then I'm gonna put this magnet on. If you have a Stamparatus, you want to put some washi tape on your magnets. It makes them a lot easier to pick up and move around. They're really strong magnets, and so once they're stuck to something, it's hard to get them off. Okay, and we're using the Evergreen Elegance Bundle tonight. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a glare. And first we're gonna use the tall tree. So that's this one here. And since I'm using the Stamparatus, I can place my tree exactly where I want it to go. Then I'm gonna close my plate and pick up my stamp. And tonight we're using two different colors of ink. We're using Mossy Meadow and Sahara Sand. So first we're going to use our Mossy Meadow to stamp our tree. And we're just going to tap it all along that tree. Now these ink pads are really they're soft and they're full of a lot of ink. So if you press down hard, you're going to end up with a smudgy image. But if you just tap gently on your stamp, you'll end up with a nicer image. So then we're going to close our plate down, press it in the center, and lift it up. And there is our tree. Now, before I move on, I'm going to clean off my stamp real quick using my chamois. And if you have questions about any of the things I use in the video, just send me a message or leave a comment and ask about it. And I'll be sure to check into whatever answers you need. And then I'm going to move it over to the side, the magnet. And I'm going to take my tree off and put it back in. Now there's a little image in here that looks like, I'm not really sure what you would call it, maybe a watermark. This one is the one we're going to use next. And we're going to use it down here so that it makes like a shadow of our evergreen tree. So we'll just close our plate. And for this one, we're going to use some Sahara Sand. So we'll open that up and tap it on there. And again, we just want to tap gently on our stamp. Then we'll close the plate, press in the center, and lift it up, and there we have our shadow. It looks like I'm a little closer this time than I was originally, but I kind of like that a little bit better. So now I'll clean off my stamp, and I'm gonna open my Sahara Sand ink back up in a second. Let me just put this stamp back away so that I don't lose it. And now I'm going to use one of these little sponge daubers to give my paper a little bit of color. So what I'm going to do is, you can fit your finger most of the time right inside that little sponge dauber. And I'm just going to tap it on my ink, and then I'm going to sponge around my edges. You're not going to notice a lot of color when you do this, but you will notice a little bit. And of course, the more you sponge, the more color you would get onto your paper. Sometimes I use that sponging of the colors to help my pieces blend together a little bit, and other times I use it to help them stand out. But I have a lot of these little sponge daubers, and I keep them for a long time. So there is my first piece, and then I'm going to sponge the edges of my piece that goes on the inside. This piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to sponge along all the edges real quick. Now you will find as you're sponging, if you push your sponge hard along the edges of your paper, then if it scrapes a lot, then your sponge won't last as long. It will wear out faster. But I keep all my little sponges in little bags like this with a tiny piece of cardstock with their name on them. And I use these sponges over and over and over that way, and don't get the colors mixed. So there is that. And I'm going to set that aside over here. And next I'm going to stamp my Merry Christmas. So this piece of white is 3/4 of an inch. Is that right? Hold on. I have to double check what I wrote. Okay, no, it's not 3/4. It's actually 11/16 of an inch. Because if you notice, I usually stick to 1/4 and 1/8 and easier measurements, but I wanted the border around this one to be really thin, and so tonight my measurements are a little bit irregular. They're not what I would usually use. Let me close up my Sahara Sand because I'm done with that for right now. And let me grab my Merry Christmas. So when I was designing this card, I made my piece of white so that it just fits my Merry Christmas. So we're going to, and with the Stamparatus, you can do this a lot easier than you can with other stamping tools. Like a Stampin' Block would be really hard to get just the right placement of this. So, and hopefully I've got just the right placement. I might not. And now we're going to stamp with our Mossy Meadow. This Merry Christmas. And we're just going to close the plate, press in the center, and lift it up. And there's a nice Merry Christmas. And now we're going to trim that to didn't measure my one from before. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, it looks like it's about 3 5/8. So that'd be right here. Let's see. No, nope, I did not measure that right. Hold on, let me do that again. Let's see. 3. No, it's not 3 5/8. It's 3 3/8. There we go. That looks better. Actually, I'm gonna trim it here. No, that would have been right. Okay. All right. I thought I had all my measurements written down, but evidently I didn't. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn this over and I'm gonna add some liquid glue. And then because I wanted my border around this to be really thin, I'm gonna glue it to the Mossy Meadow before I trim it. So here's my piece of Mossy Meadow that's just slightly larger than the basic white. And you can do this with any sentiment. If you want your border to be really thin, just cut out your sentiment first, stamp and cut it out, and then you can make it as thin or as thick around there as you want it to be. So now I'm gonna measure, let's see, it was 3 3/8, so probably 3 1/2 will be the right measurement. And I remember this happened to me the first time too. See how it's just a little bit longer on the right side than on the left? I'm just gonna take my snips and I'm gonna trim it just a hair so that both sides are a little more even. All right, so now we have all our pieces cut. I'm gonna clean up my stamp real quick and get it back in its place. And we're gonna start putting this together. So I'm gonna move my Stamparatus out of the way for a minute or two. Let's see. Looks like I shuffled everything around here. I'm not sure. It's probably still all crooked. Okay, so here is our card base. Here are our layers. And this is for the inside. So let's put this on the inside first. And I'm just using my liquid glue for this. You can use whatever adhesive you prefer. And I always do a thin line around the edge and then a squiggle down the middle. We're going to carefully turn this over because this glue is really sticky. It will get on your fingers. But I like to use the liquid glue because it gives me a little more time time to adjust if I don't get my pieces right where I want them to be. The Stampin' Seal can be a little unforgiving. It's very sticky, and so once you put it down, that sometimes is your only chance to adjust it. So now we're going to turn this one over. And put some glue a little around the edge. And then glue down the middle. We're going to turn that one over. It's a little chilly down here tonight in the basement, and so this afternoon, I should say. So I even had to go put on a sweater because my fingers were so cold that I couldn't hold on to anything. Maybe that's why I was making a bit of a mess earlier. Okay, and this one, we are gonna tie some little bows. Hopefully my fingers will work well. I always try not to tighten the center part of my bow too much until I get my edges a little closer to where I want them to be. So I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but I made 3 different size bows, and I put the smallest one at the top, and then a little bit larger one in the middle, and then the largest one at the bottom. They're all really small, but they are just a little different size. So I'm going to make my 3 bows first so I can tell which one is which size before I glue them on. And I really like this linen thread. I use it a lot. It's a nice neutral color. You can get it in several different colors. It comes in this natural color and black and white. And sometimes in the paper pumpkin kits it will come in special colors. I'm pretty sure I've gotten it in a pink before, and it might be baker's twine, and some of it's striped, which is really cute. Let's see, I think that one's a tiny bit bigger. It might be exactly the same, but I think it's a tiny bit bigger. Alright, so now I need to make just one more. And while we're doing this, for those of you who don't know, right now is Stampin' Up's 2nd celebration of the year. So if you are looking to get a really great discount on your Stampin' Up products, you can join Stampin' Up as a demonstrator right now. You're not ever forced to sell anything. You don't have to do that. But you can join right now for $99 and get $125 in product. Plus you get your business supplies and all of that. You don't ever have to use that if you don't want to sell anything. You get your business supplies, and because it's celebration time, you also get to choose a Stampin' Up bundle. So it's either a stamp and punch bundle or a stamp and die cut bundle. So die cuts have to be used with the embossing Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, or if you have already some kind of embossing machine, as long as you have the right sandwich, they call it, of products, you can use that. Okay, so we are gonna put, and I'm using my liquid glue again. I really like this liquid glue. So I'm gonna put one bow here, one bow here, and one down here. And I'm just putting little dots of glue there. And then I'm gonna stick my bows on right at the knot. So there are those. And I'm gonna wait for that to dry. And while I do that, I'm gonna add some of these really pretty basic rhinestone jewels. These are some of my favorite embellishments. I love little sparkly rhinestone jewels. And they come in lots of different colors other than just clear, but I thought that the clear ones would make pretty little stars. So I may need to make one that's like a navy blue so that it's a dark sky with these little stars would be really pretty too. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle them around like stars would be sprinkled around. And I'm using my Take Your Pick tool, which has two different ends. So this end has tacky stuff that comes out that you can use to pick up little rhinestones with, or sequins, or pretty much any embellishment that you want to add to your cards or projects. And then those are the little ones, and then I wanted one big one for the top of the tree. Now if my tree is outside, it's probably not going to have a star on it, but I still like to put a star at the top of the tree. Anyway. So I'm going to use, and these come in, my other pack was almost empty, but they come in 3 different sizes. You get these little tiny ones, and then kind of a medium sized one, and then a few of the larger ones. So I'm going to put this large one right at the top. I don't think my bow is quite dry yet, but we're going to go ahead and put our card together anyway. So I'm going to set those to the side and put the caps on this just so I don't lose them. Because the little caps are clear, even though they're frosted, sometimes I misplace them. And I don't really want to put my tool away without having its covers on. So I'm going to turn this over just carefully because I know it might not be totally dry yet. And I'm going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. So I like to put one in each corner, especially on a bigger card piece like this. I put one in the center too, just to hold it up. Because I found that sometimes when I package them up, the envelope will smush the middle of them just a little bit if they don't have a Stampin' Dimensional, and I don't like them to be smushed. Okay, so now we're gonna put this right on the front of our card. Hopefully kind of straight. There we go. And then for our Merry Christmas, we're going to put this down here. So on the back, I'm gonna use, oh, where did I put them? Oh, there they are. Because there's a little extra layer in here, and I want my card to be kind of even, I'm gonna use some of these mini glue dots. I thought they would make really cute stars, Tina. The champagne colored ones, let's see if I can find those. These would make really cute little stars too, because they're not really goldy, but you could use both together, and I think they would make really pretty stars. Maybe I'll do that soon in a next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these glue dots and I'm going to put them along what would be the, let's see, the bottom of my card. I'm actually going to put them all the way around, but I'm going to put 2 on the bottom. Whoops. Hopefully you guys can see those. And then I'm going to put some on the top. Let me see. A little bit over here. And a little bit over here. Now, the ones that are on the bottom, the reason I am doing what I'm doing is because I want it to be a little bit level. So I'm going to take my mini Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh, you don't have the champagne ones. I really like the champagne ones. I should say, I really like all of them. And I'm going to put these Stampin' Dimensionals right on top of the glue dot, just because that's going to give me a little bit of an extra layer, so that hopefully my sentiment will look like it's laying flat. Now I'm going to stick it on there, just off to the side. Just like that. And I think that works out pretty good. You can see that it's fairly level on there. So there is our first card, and I think these are really cute. They don't take up a lot of ink or a lot of paper. You could make a lot of these really fast, especially with your Stamparatus. If you mark your paper and you just you have them all cut out and you just keep stamping, you could get them done really fast. And you wouldn't have to use as many little stars if you didn't want to either. But I thought they added something really nice. Okay, let's move on to our next card. This one, it will take a little bit more time. So I'm going to put that right over there in the corner. Let's see. Looks like I scooted everything a little bit here. Okay. So now, here are the pieces we're going to need for this one. And I'll put all the measurements in the description of the YouTube video. And I'll put a link to my website, so that with a list of all the products that you need to finish each of these cards. Okay, so this one, we are going to stamp the card front first. And we're going to use this tiny little star here and some Sahara Sand. And since we're just using the tiny star, I put it on a little block. You could use any size block for this, but I like a smaller one for little stuff like this. So we're gonna start here and we're just gonna stamp one regular star and then we're gonna stamp off one. So, and you can stamp as many or as few as you want. All right, and now I'm gonna fold my card because I guess it wouldn't matter if they stamped onto the back, but since I'm gonna stamp along this top edge like this, I'm just gonna fold it like that. Okay, and then we have our little stars. So I can clean off my stamp. I keep putting my chamois away just because that's what I'm used to doing most of the time. And then I need it again. So maybe I'll just sit it up here where we can go right back to it. Now we are going to take a piece of this Mossy Meadow is cut 3 by 4 1/4, and this white is 2 3/4 by 4. So we're going to get our stamparatus again, and open it up. Oops, I gotta move it a little bit. Let me make sure you can still see. Okay. And I like to put a stamp set when I'm doing a lot of stamping with the stamparatus underneath the plate, whichever way it's going. If it's going to the top, I put it under the top. If it's going to the side, I put it under the side. It just keeps the plate level while you're adding ink to it. Okay, now from our stamp set, we're gonna take this medium-sized tree, and I'm going to, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I mark my paper, my grid paper, when I'm doing different projects so that I know where I want to put this paper down. And then if I pick it up, I can put it down and it's back in the same place. So my first tree is going to go over here by the edge. Actually, I'm going to move it down just a little bit because I think it was up a little higher than I wanted it to be before. So we're going to pick that one up and we're going to add some Mossy Meadow ink. And we're going to stamp it down. Press in the center and lift it back up. Now, before we remove it, I want to show you something. So we're going to move our magnet to the top. I guess I could have done that before. But instead of moving our stamp, we're just going to pick the whole plate up and we're going to move it, let's see, 1, 2, 3 to the right, and then we can just stamp again. So then we have our first image and our stamped off image. Okay, and now I'm going to clean that little tree off. And I'm going to put the medium tree back. and I'm gonna grab the little tree. And I want to put my little tree right here next to the bigger one. And I'm going to pick that up with my plate, add my ink again. I need to move that because it's not very sturdy. Alright, and then, oh, I got a little ink on there, but it's going to be okay because the plates won't hit. I'm going to stamp it down and pick it up. And then I'm going to move it again. So I'm going to move it, oh, not there, here. So I'm going to add a little more ink. And I'm going to stamp it down. And now move it one more. Nope. Okay. I'm going to clean it off. The Stamparatus gives you a lot of options for placement, which is really nice in a lot of situations. So what I want to do, I want my little tree to be right between these other two little trees. So I can put it there, pick it up, but I don't want it to be as dark as the other two are. So I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to take my paper out, stamp my little tree, put my paper back in the same spot that I marked, and put its magnet on. Now I can pick up my plate and I can huff on my stamp real quick, and that just helps keep it inked up nice, and stamp it right between those other two. And that gives me a nice little tree line. In fact, I might want to put one right here too. But no, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that space open for now. Okay, so now we're going to clean our stamp off. And we're going to put this one back away. And I'm going to take this stamp out. That's our medium-sized tree again. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. But I'm going to move this to the side because that piece is ready. This piece is ready because it's just cut. Now, we're going to take our piece of Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to put my magnet down. Let's see. And I'm going to pick up my tree, ink it up, and stamp it, move it over, stamp it again, move it over one, and ink it up. I need to move my little magnet out of the way. I'm going to stamp it again, move it over one, slide my magnet back to the other side, and stamp it one more time. Now there's a nice little tree line, and I'm going to clean this stamp off. And then we're going to punch out our little row of trees. So this is the Evergreen Elegance Bundle, and if you order a bundle like this, you get both the stamp set and the punch. So now I'm going to show you how to use the punch real quick. And when you first get a punch, it will be oiled up just a little bit to help it punch more smoothly. And I don't know if you can see, but this was my first little row of trees, and see how they have a little bit of an edge on them. That's actually from the oil on the punch. So when you first get a punch, you want to run it through some cardstock that's not super important. You don't want to use it on a project the first time. So now I'm gonna move my Stamparatus out of the way for a moment. And I want to show you how to use the punch. Okay, so we're gonna slide it in our piece of paper in. And then I'm going to kind of move it to where I want it to be. And then I can punch. And if you look at the punch, you'll see there's a little outline of the trees on either side. So you can scoot that along until your trees line up. And then you're just going to hold it in place and you're going to punch again. And then you're going to scoot it to the other side until your trees line up. Hold it in place and you're going to punch again. And then when you take out your trees, this is what you'll have. So we stamped a little bit, which gives our trees a little definition, and then they're all punched out. And here are our pieces. We can just throw those away because we're not saving them for something, at least not this time. Although I might be able to use these tree tops for something. I'm gonna put those up there, just in case I think of something. All right, and then we're gonna put our tree line over here because that is ready. Now, we have a piece of white that is 1 1/4 by 2. Let's see, I better measure because I'm not sure. 2 1/2. And on this, I'm gonna use this corner punch. This is the trio punch. So it punches out 3 different images. This one's like a little holly leaf, maybe. This one's a little oval, and this one is a corner punch. So I like to turn my punch upside down and turn my paper upside down. And then you're going to slide the corner in until it can't go any farther. Squeeze the punch, and I hold both sides because otherwise I might pinch my fingers in there. And then we're gonna punch each corner. And let's see, it flipped over. So we're gonna punch each corner out. And it looks like I must have held it a little tiny bit crooked when I punched that corner. So I can just take my snips and trim that little edge. I used to try to trim these little corners myself, and that takes a lot of work. Plus, sometimes I would keep trimming and trimming and trimming until I had no corner left, because it wouldn't look exactly right to me. But now with the corner punch, I find I have a much easier time. All right, let me grab the Stamparatus one last time. So we're going to, sorry guys if everything is all crooked here. I tend to do that sometimes. All right, I'm gonna put my little label in here and get my stamp set. I'm gonna use It's Friends Like You That Make This Season So Wonderful. And I'm gonna put that so that it's right in the center. And pick it up, and I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow ink. And stamp that down. Oh, I was afraid that I think I got a little bit crooked. I did, so we're going to do it again. So I need a piece of white that's 1 1/4. Let me see what I have over here. 1 1/4 by 2 1/2. So I'm going to cut it at 2 1/2. And then 1 1/4. And then we're going to punch our corners real quick. I guess I should have stamped it before I did all that. Probably because I'm hurrying a little bit. There we go. I'll just trim those little edge pieces. And put it back on here. I guess I better clean it off and reposition it since I got it in the wrong spot. But that's bound to happen sometimes, right? So, alright, I'm going to try really hard this time to make sure that my words line up. And I should have been watching my, let's see, it looks like they're lined up right on the other side. So I should have been watching where my words were. But sometimes I'm not. Okay, that looks good. Let's try this one more time. If it's crooked again, we're just gonna assume that's the way it's meant to be. Okay, so now we'll stamp it down. Oh, that's better. It might still be a little bit crooked, but it's better. So we're gonna make it work. All right, let me clean my stamp. Get started assembling everything and putting it together. But we have one more thing to do. So we're going to grab our other little sponge dauber and our Mossy Meadow ink, and we're going to go around the edge of our little sentiment. So, and this will just help it stand out a little bit from the background. The one we did before kind of helped it blend in, and this time we want it to stand out. We could make another layer of the Mossy Meadow to go behind here too if we wanted to add extra an extra layer, but I thought it would be nice just to do a little sponge inking around the edges. So we're going to set that to the side. That's our green. And now we're going to start putting everything together. Okay, so we're going to turn over our piece of white that has our stamped trees on it. And we're going to add our adhesive all around the edge and a squiggle in the middle. And we're going to center that on our piece of Mossy Meadow. And again, when I put the YouTube video up, I will make sure that all of the measurements are listed in the description. We're going to turn our little trees over and grab our mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to put those along the back. And it doesn't matter where you put them. I just put them all on the, I put one of each on the larger trees. And peel off the back. And then I kind of hold it by the top and line it up because I want it to cover up that white at the bottom. But you want it to be just on the edge on each side, just like that. Then we're going to take our linen thread, and I'm going to try to straighten it out just a little bit because that makes it a little easier to tie in a bow. Okay, and I hold a little bit off the edge because I want to save some for tying my bow. And then I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. So 2, 3. And when I tie a bow, I always turn my project upside down. I don't know if it helps or not, but that's what I do. So I'm going to move the roll to this side, and I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to pull up a loop and go around. And then pull it through. Hopefully pull it through. Alright. Oops, I didn't get that quite tight. No. Alright, we gotta try that again. I'm gonna pull up my loop. Go around. Oops, I went the wrong way. From the front to the back. Maybe that's why. And pull it tight. And before you pull it really tight, you want to make sure that your bows are kind of in the right spot, because when you go to pull it, the threads will twist up, and then it makes it hard to get your bow nice if its loops are all twisty. Alright, let me set that aside. Now we're going to turn this one over and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And I like to put one on each corner. And then one in the middle. If it was a smaller piece, like half this size, I'd only put 4. But because it's a bit larger and I don't want it to smush down in the center, I'm going to use 5. Whoops. Okay, and then when I put it on the front, instead of being right in the center, this one I kind of leaned it down towards this bottom left corner a little bit. so that when I put this up at the top, it looks right. Okay, and this, I'm going to use the mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put one here, one in this corner, and then one down here. I hope that's right. Yep, okay. And then on this corner, I'm going to use a glue dot. Actually, I probably should stick a glue dot on each of those Stampin' Dimensionals too, just to give it a little extra height. A glue dot doesn't help a ton, but it will, it's like a layer of paper, really. Oh, I forgot to take the sticky thing off of that. Wow. I'm showing you guys a lot of things not to do tonight. Okay, so so we have 3 Stampin' Dimensionals and 4 glue dots. And then we're going to put this right up here in the corner, like that. And that glue dot will hold even on the twine thread, which is nice. So there we have our second Christmas card. Oh, thank you. I always struggle with bows, and so I'm just learning. I found if I tie them upside down, it works better for me. I'm not sure why. So there are our 2 cards for tonight. And remember, if you want to join Stampin' Up for the discount, you get 20% off when you join the team. When you join, you get 20% off your orders. Your first order, your starter kit, is $99. You don't pay shipping. You do pay tax, but you don't pay shipping. You get $125 worth of product, and you get an extra bundle because it's still celebration. Now that only lasts until the end of this month. So I will be back this week to show you some more projects. And before I go, I wanted to show you, I'm going to start doing an over the top card every once in a while. So it'll have extra products or a little bit fancier design or something, but this is going to be the first one, and I will post the video soon. So it opens up like this, and then it opens up like this. So you could add a lot of extra details to this one. I will be posting the video for that one soon. But that will probably be in my Stampin' Up group. So if you haven't joined my Stampin' Up group, Alicia's Stampin' Academy, you need to join that. Or you'll be able to find it on YouTube. Thank you for joining me tonight for Stampin' Sunday. I hope you all have a good week, and I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye, everyone.